The baby wasn't crying anymore. That terrified Ethan more than the pounding rain. His pickup truck sat on the shoulder of an empty highway while flashes of lightning illuminated a young woman standing barefoot beside a broken stroller. She held a tiny baby against her chest beneath a soaked blanket, trembling so hard she could barely stay upright. As Ethan stepped into the rain, she flinched as if expecting him to yell. Instead, he quietly held out his old work jacket. She hesitated. Then, barely louder than the rain, she whispered, "We have nowhere to go." For a moment, the entire world seemed to go silent. Ethan Brooks had spent the last 6 years raising his 9-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. He repaired heating systems across a small Oregon town, spending long days crawling through dusty attics and freezing basements before rushing home in time to make dinner and help with homework. Life wasn't easy. Money disappeared almost as quickly as he earned it. The roof leaked. His truck coughed every morning before finally starting. But there was always enough laughter inside their tiny house to make it feel warm. That night he had been driving home after an emergency repair call nearly 40 miles away. He almost kept driving. Almost. The storm was dangerous, visibility nearly gone. Yet something about the woman standing completely still in the rain made him hit the brakes. Now she sat silently in the passenger seat, wrapping the jacket tighter around herself while the baby finally let out a weak little sigh. "Hospital?" Ethan asked softly. She shook her head. "Shelter?" Another slow shake. "They're full. Nothing else." No explanation. No complaints. Just exhaustion. Back home, Lily opened the front door before Ethan even reached the porch. "You were supposed to be home an hour ago." Then she noticed the strangers. The little girl's eyes settled on the baby. Without asking questions, Lily disappeared into her bedroom. Seconds later, she returned carrying her favorite stuffed rabbit. "It's okay," she said shyly. "You can borrow this." The baby's tiny fingers wrapped around one floppy ear. For the first time that night, the young mother smiled. It lasted only a second, but Ethan noticed. Her name was Nora. She insisted they could leave in the morning. She apologized every few minutes for taking up space. She barely touched the hot soup Ethan made. Instead, she watched the baby sleep inside Lily's old portable crib that had been tucked away in the garage for years. Around midnight, Ethan woke to the sound of soft crying. Not the baby. Nora. She sat alone on the back porch despite the cold. "I shouldn't have accepted your help," she whispered. "My son deserves better than this." Ethan didn't offer advice. He simply sat beside her. Sometimes kindness sounded like silence. The next morning brought another surprise. A black SUV rolled slowly down Ethan's gravel driveway. 2 sharply dressed people stepped out. Nora immediately froze. Her face lost all color. "I have to leave." She grabbed the baby. Before she reached the door, one of the visitors called out, "Nora, please wait." She didn't. She ran into the woods behind the house. The visitors stopped at Ethan's porch. "We're not here to hurt her," the older woman explained. "We've been looking everywhere." Ethan folded his arms. "Who are you?" "My name is Grace. I'm a social worker." She explained that Nora had disappeared from a temporary family housing program 3 days earlier after mistakenly believing Child Protective Services planned to take her son away. In reality, they had been trying to approve emergency housing. A misunderstanding fueled by fear had sent her running. Grace looked exhausted. "So many people promise help," she said quietly. She doesn't believe anyone anymore. Hours passed before Nora returned. She expected Ethan to be angry. Instead, he handed her a warm cup of coffee. Then he invited Grace inside. No one pressured Nora. No one demanded explanations. Grace simply laid paperwork across the kitchen table. "We already have an apartment ready. You only need to sign." Nora stared at the papers without moving. Then she admitted something she'd never told anyone. She couldn't read. Not well enough to understand legal forms. Every document looked like another trap. Every signature felt like surrender. Fear had done the rest. The room became painfully quiet. Lily gently slid into the chair beside her. "I can read it with you." No judgment. No pity. Just kindness. Nora broke down completely. Over the following weeks, Ethan helped repair the apartment before Nora moved in. The plumbing leaked. The heater barely worked. The kitchen cabinets hung crooked. He fixed everything after work using leftover materials from job sites. Neighbors slowly joined in. Someone donated a crib. Another family brought groceries. A retired carpenter built bookshelves. Without anyone planning it, An entire community quietly appeared around one frightened mother. Just when life finally seemed stable, another setback arrived. The heating company Ethan worked for announced layoffs. Business had slowed. His position disappeared. Driving home with the termination envelope beside him felt heavier than any toolbox he'd ever carried. He didn't tell Lily immediately. That evening, he simply made grilled cheese sandwiches like always. Children deserved ordinary dinners, even when adults carried extraordinary worries. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Nora stood outside holding a folded envelope. "I heard." He forced a smile. "I'll find something." She handed him the envelope. Inside were dozens of handwritten names. Families, neighbors, churches, apartment managers. Every person whose home Ethan had quietly repaired over the years without charging when they couldn't afford it. Each had written one sentence: "He helped us when nobody else would." Attached was a list of repair requests already waiting. Word had spread. The community wasn't offering charity. They were offering work. Within months, Ethan opened a small independent repair business from his garage. It wasn't glamorous. His sign was hand-painted. His office was an old folding table. But customers trusted him because they knew what kind of man arrived when someone truly needed help. Not just someone who fixed furnaces. Someone who stayed. Nora found steady work at the town library after enrolling in adult literacy classes. Every Tuesday evening, she practiced reading children's books aloud. Her son, Caleb, became her happiest audience. One rainy afternoon nearly a year later, Ethan watched through the library window as Nora confidently read an entire picture book to a circle of laughing children. She looked up. Their eyes met. No words were needed. Both remembered another rainy night. One filled with fear. This one filled with hope. Storms still came to Oregon. Roads still flooded. Cars still broke down. But every time Ethan passed someone stranded on the roadside, he slowed down. Not because he believed he could save everyone, but because one simple decision, to stop instead of driving past, had changed far more than one family's future. Kindness rarely arrives with applause. Most often, it pulls over in the rain, opens an old truck door, and quietly makes room for someone who has nowhere left to go. And sometimes, the safest place a person will ever find isn't a house. It's another human being who chooses not to keep driving.